So if they're authentic, they radically change our view of Francis Bacon's way of working, of what kind of artist he was. If they're fake, of course, then they're complete travesties. Well, the trouble is that the experts don't agree.
Today I'm here for the Is This the Real Thing? Question of Authenticity Symposium. This project is a joint venture with Tate Britain and NADFAS, where we're getting together artists and creative people to talk to young people about the more complex ideas around art making and creativity in general. Initially, I'll be talking alongside one of my favourite pieces in the Tate Britain collection, the Richard Long work, which is where he walked a line through a field, and questioning how we deal with ideas of authenticity around that piece. And then in the afternoon, I'll be in conversation about what authenticity means in art as against music. And I'm hoping it should be a really interesting day.
Hello, my name is Michael Petrie, and I'm an artist, an author, and a critic. And I also curate exhibitions. And I'm going to be talking to the students about how contemporary artists like myself work with artisans to make work that they're going to see in the galleries. What I'd like the students to understand is that the practice of art has changed over the years in the public perception, but not actually in terms of how actual artworks have been made. So that when they look at a bronze from, say, the 19th century, and they historically might have thought that it was made by one person, I want them to understand that it would have been a team of people, 10, 20 people in a foundry who would have worked to create that bronze in the similar way that a work by Damien Hirst in bronze today, which they do understand is not made by him, it was produced with the help of artisans in a very similar way over 100 years apart. And that is something that they don't seem to be being taught. I don't know why that may be, but it's not just art students, it's the general public who have this misperception about how work is actually made.
My name is Amy Concannon. I'm assistant curator here at Tate Britain for the period 1790 to 1850. And I'm going to be contributing to the NADFAS and Tate Symposium for young people on the subject of questions of authenticity. Is this the real thing? My contribution will be to take the students back to the turn of the century, between the 18th century and the 19th century, to think about authenticity in relation to an artist's approach to nature and to their subject. So to think about whether an artist is telling the truth in a painting, what aspects of the work suggest that it's a real view, what may have been composed or choreographed specifically by the artist, and to get them to think about historic works of art that may look simple and straightforward, but to think about the complexities involved in creating that image and what the image tells you about the artists themselves and how they wanted to be seen by the art world.
Who he is. Well, now, Bacon, during his lifetime, claimed that he didn't do drawings. He liked everybody to think that he worked inspirationally straight on the canvas. After his death, 3 groups of drawings turned up. One group everybody accepts. They're up here in the archives. The second belonged to his chauffeur and handyman, a guy called Barry Jewell. I'm David Phillips. I'm talking about the technicalities and the problems of attribution, which in many ways are at the heart of the museum business, because it's the process of deciding, or trying to decide, what's authentic and what isn't. I'm going to be talking in relation to Francis Bacon, because at the moment there are 3 groups of drawings which have turned up since his death, of which one is very much disputed, and there are hundreds of them. So whether these drawings are right or wrong fundamentally changes our view of what Bacon's all about. And the process of the dispute brings into public view all the difficulties, the disagreements between the connoisseurs, the problems with technical and with documentary data, where the drawings come from. The fact that the whole business in the end is a bit uncertain. Also, the fact that it's very, very much to do with money, and inevitably, when you're talking about connoisseurship, with class. And because of that association of attribution with class and money, it's become very suspect in the eyes of a lot of artists and a lot of art historians. That's one reason why so many artists in the last few decades have turned away from any kind of art that is susceptible to connoisseurial attribution and assessment towards installation art and art fabricated by other people or by specialist fabricators. And museums are pretty strange in relation to this question of attribution, because you have these pictures on the walls which are all there because in theory they've been authenticated. They've got some special property. And you never read anything in the galleries about money. But then when you pick up the newspapers, you read about almost nothing else in relation to art. And the whole business of attribution is the bridge between those two sides of the business, which are kept so studiously apart. And it's a bit suspicious why. What I hope they will get from today is to perhaps challenge their assumptions. And I really don't know what those assumptions are. A few generations back, of course, the assumption was that connoisseurship and the assessment and establishment of works of genius was what the whole thing was about. And therefore, looking at the problems perhaps made one wonder, well, what is this artistic genius that we're talking about? On the other hand, a generation that's grown up with installation art, they may already be challenging that. But in that case, I hope that they may actually start to wonder whether, after all, we might have thrown the baby out with the bathwater if we abandon the process of attribution altogether.
My view of authenticity, I think, started off, you kind of expected the artist to make all the work. And at first, when we were told that a lot of the artists don't make a lot of the work, I kind of thought of like Andy Warhol, just getting other people to do the screen prints. But then after a while, as you kind of get explained the history of how a lot of artists actually, say, painted just like the face and the hands of a piece, and then the rest of it was painted by different artists, you suddenly realise that what you think as being authentic isn't necessarily authentic. And so I really started to question what authenticity really is, and it has changed. I think I do believe more in the concept of an idea and the concept of it getting to that final idea, but maybe the in-between isn't necessarily as important.
I never realised actually how much work is done by other people. I was a bit disappointed, to be honest, especially because if you go and see a piece of artwork with an artist's name stamped on it, you expect that he or she has done it. I think also the talent and the technical complexities of making the actual artwork in a project is important as well.
My name is Rita Smith and I'm Director of Studies for the Arts at Queen Elizabeth Sixth Form College in Darlington. We came last year and were supported by the local branch of the NADFAS Society, who gave each student £10 towards the considerable train fare from the northeast. We had a really enjoyable day, but we had one student for whom it really changed his life. He was on our Art Foundation course, destined for doing fashion design, came to this conference, absolutely loved it, and applied to do fine art and art history, and he's currently studying that at Goldsmiths College in London.
Hi, I'm Ben from Jota. I'm Dave from Jota. And today we are doing a workshop on questions of authenticity. So we've prepared a number of kind of small games or challenges, I suppose, which kind of engage with different parts of the question around authenticity. In many ways, we're trying to find a way of engaging the students here today to think about the production of art, the story behind artworks, and in a way challenging them to think about how narratives and the stories of artworks kind of move from one thing to another. Yeah, so one of those games, actually, we're taking the TV show Would I Lie to You as a bit of inspiration, and we're going to get each team to kind of make up a backstory to a famous piece of work from art history. And then we're going to get the other groups to kind of guess which story they actually think is the correct one, whether it's the real story or one of the ones they've made up.
One of the other elements of the workshop is that the participants will be asked to introduce themselves to a single colleague, and that colleague will then have to present them their story or their life story back to the group. And in a way, we're playing with that idea that do you have to have lived an experience to authentically tell that story?
Hi, my name is Helena Foster, and today at the Tate Britain I've really enjoyed the whole workshops and talks we had this morning, or throughout the whole day actually. There's been different workshops with activities and games that's really got everyone thinking about different things and bringing the groups together.
When I leave today, I feel like my point of view on art has changed. Like most of the time when I do like art analysis and stuff, I go to the gallery, I look at the name of the artist, I say what I see and stuff like that. And I actually never got to like understand who actually made the artwork. And today was very important because it got me to know all about those kind of things.
So in general, I came here with an open mind. I didn't necessarily know what to expect, but on the whole I've been really pleased and I've really enjoyed the whole day, so it's been great. Yeah, cool.
So what we had here today was a symposium for young people aged 15 to 18, brought together to explore authenticity. The symposium was called Is This the Real Thing? And questioned authenticity from a range of different specialisms within visual contemporary art, historic art, modern art, but also across art forms into different mediums such as music, film, etc. There was a number of collaborators, artists, curators, acquisitions staff, conservators, and all of them brought their individual perspectives on the subject matter so that the young people could really dig into what authenticity means at this point in the 21st century, and I think we achieved it.
Is it more than celebrity? I mean, is the real talent there?